So OTAs have wrapped up. Let's talk about all the storylines going into training camp. JetCast Shop is the only place to get official JetCast merchandise. You can buy t-shirts, hats, water bottles, and much, much more. All of our items are high quality. Order online and have your product shipped right to your door. Check out the latest gear today at shop.jetcastpod.com. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to JetCast episode 23. I'm Pat, that's Ray. And like I said in the intro, we're going to go over everything that happened at OTAs. We're going to talk about all the different storylines going into training camp. The Jets canceled their minicamp because we are playing in the Hall of Fame game. So our training camp is going to start a little earlier than other teams. So most of the players are back home, wherever that may be. We know Aaron is back on the West Coast. Ray, what's the first thing you want to talk about? You want to talk about the Quinnen Williams situation? I think that's kind of the biggest thing that's hanging over everybody's heads right now.
Yeah, we could touch on that. Really quickly, I want to talk about Mike Tannenbaum's reaction to us canceling minicamp.
Oh, I saw that.
Gave us an off-season grade of an A, and then all of a sudden, because we canceled 3 minicamps, it's an F. I mean, what
3 days. 3 days of practice and we're an F.
Maybe there's a reason why he didn't win anything as a GM. But, the stuff with Quinnen Williams, it looks like he's going to get paid. They're working on it. I'm not scared about it. I know a lot of Jet fans are out there saying, oh, we should trade Quinnen. Like, what are we talking about? We're trying to win a Super Bowl this year. He is clearly our best player on defense, a player that other teams need to game plan around. So I think it's going to get done. I think it's going to get done fairly soon. And I fully expect him to be there when training camp opens. I
keep seeing that the main sticking point is years, that they've actually kind of already agreed on what the per year salary is going to end up being, but that they're really just going back and forth. Obviously, Quinnen, from what I'm seeing, Quinnen wants a longer deal. Of course, the Jets are trying to do a shorter deal. So if that's really what they're stuck on, then they'll come to the right decision, for both parties, and it shouldn't drag on into training camp. So
Quinnen wants to be here, so
right,
have it.
Right. I think the rookies had a pretty good good OTA. McDonald looks like he's in fantastic shape. I know he's trying to put on some weight. Clemens, right? Michael Clemens also put on some weight, as far as I saw.
Yep. Up to 290, I believe.
That's fantastic. I'm excited. I mean, I can't say enough good things about the offense. Looks like Aaron is really taking the job by the reins here and is taking an active role in teaching the offense.
I'd be curious to get your perspective on the whole Zach Wilson situation. What do you think about his comments about LaFleur?
Oh, he threw LaFleur under the bus. He didn't mean to, right? He didn't quite think it through. Right. But I mean, he said it was refreshing, right? And they really know what they're talking about. They really know what they're doing. And I mean, we all know that. They should be, because they're a veteran staff compared to the base of the rookie staff that was initially there.
Right.
So I think it was it's obvious. Yes, it must be refreshing, and they must know what they're talking about. At least I hope they know what they're talking about, right? But it throws that whole coaching staff kind of under the bus, and I'm fine with that. LaFleur's in LA now, right? He is the offensive coordinator, but he's not really the offensive coordinator. Sean McVay is calling those plays. We know that.
Right.
Same situation that's happening in Kansas City, right? So, yeah, What did you think of it? I mean, obviously he didn't think it fully through when he's talking. He doesn't think really a lot when during his press conferences. He said he was going to make a veteran quarterback's job hell, and Aaron Rodgers comes strolling in. So,
right, I thought it was for me. I know a lot of Jet fans might not agree with me. I thought it was an incredibly immature response. I think that's where you could have taken the high road, but instead he didn't. I mean, us as Jet fans.
So you think he actively wanted to say that? Or
let's just say Zach Wilson's a smart guy. He went to BYU. Not just everybody gets in there. And I think that everything that he says is somewhat calculated. And I think, he went through the media training like all the other rookies. He's been dealing with the media since he's been here. It's now going on year 3. And I think that's the chance where he could have easily have taken the high road. And instead, he reverts to an immature response by throwing the other coaching staff under the bus. And I find it very, very strange, considering if Zach Wilson were to look at his career right now, he is on the bubble. If he wasn't guaranteed, to cost the Jets $12 million in dead cap, there's no guarantee he'd be on this team. So after this year, he's got to be really careful. So I think showing his maturity and development, almost like Geno Smith did towards the end as he went into Seattle. And we've all been used to Sam Darnold, the way that he answers questions, very mature way. He's getting these second chances. If you're another team, which odds are Zach's going to be successful, it's not going to be here with us. If you're another team and you see, well, this guy's throwing his quarterback coach, his offensive staff, he's throwing them all under a bus, would you want him coming to your squad knowing that he could light a fire any minute? I thought it was incredibly immature, and I expected more out of a third-year quarterback in New York.
All right, so
maybe I'm wrong.
All right, so guys, you got to let us know in the comments what you think. Ray clearly thinks that it was an immature response, that he meant to do it. I think he was just talking out of his ass because he just didn't realize what he was saying. So you guys got to let us know what you think of the comments. Next, let's talk about
Clark.
Oh, right. The ACL. Fantastic. So he got a second opinion, right? Is it confirmed now that he's done? I didn't see
that, but I'll tell you this. I very rarely ever see anybody who get a second opinion. And they say, you know what? One guy's saying it's attached and the other one says, no, it's severed.
Well, then maybe it's not fully torn. I mean, the MRI should clearly show if it's torn or if it's not torn.
Yes.
Right?
Absolutely.
So, I don't know. It seemed pretty quick that they announced Adrian Amos, and then he was immediately in the facility signing a contract.
Right.
So clearly do you think they were talking to Adrian before the Clark situation happened?
I think they were, and I think that this defensive staff knows that Clark was not a free safety at heart. He's not a great cover guy. He's a pretty solid tackle guy. And Adrian Amos, I'm not going to say he's a game changer, but one thing he does is he plays games. He played 82 out of his last 82 games throughout his career. He's one of those guys that are on the field. He's always there. He's that veteran presence. And it's like, I don't know, I feel like he would have been in that rotation. We all know Paul Riley thinks high of Adams. We'll see where he ends up. But I think it was a solid move. I read somewhere that, I'm trying to remember the team, but another team had a high offer in for him. And when the Jets got the news about Clark, they upped their offer to go out and get him. Because spending, I believe it's like a $2.65 million cap hit, but giving him $4 million with incentives, that's a fairly decent amount for this late in the game, considering that free agency's been open for months. You have the draft that's already gone by. So to spend that kind of capital on a free safety means that, the Jets definitely probably had to up their offer. So, and it means they believe in him. So it's good to have a veteran back there. I think he's better than Joyner, and he's going to be on the field. That's my number one thing.
Right. Your best ability is availability, right? So, right. I mean, Clark was more of a box safety, right? He was more of he's going to get up there, he's going to help with the run game. So it does make sense that they would have been talking to Amos before before everything happened with Clark. Now, I am happy that we have a veteran free safety back there that knows how to play center field, basically, which is really, really what they need. Talking a little bit about the defense, they still haven't signed Quan, and I don't think they're going to.
I don't think
right?
so either.
I don't think they're going to. They
Unless it's an injury.
Unless it's an injury, right. They seem to be really in on Jamien Sherwood, it seems like, right? I keep seeing
him
that.
a couple years ago. Yeah, they loved him a couple years ago. He's almost like a transition from safety. He's a quick guy. And I think that he's one of those developmental pieces that they saw a couple years ago and said, you know what, he's not going to start right away, but maybe we'll develop him into that starter.
Right.
You know, and I think Kawan's looking for, if he's going to sign somewhere, he's going to want to start, number one, because he's going to try to capitalize on it, the market after this season. But I think that they're going to spend their money very wisely. I mean, good thing we had that money available for Amos. And they still haven't, we keep forgetting, because everybody thinks, Rodgers has such a small cap hit this year. Right now, it's $1 million.
Not for long. Not for long.
Exactly. So saving that money by not bringing in Kawan, because supposedly Kawan's looking to get paid, almost like Amos. Yep. So, and that's no chunk change, especially as, think about it, we already have to dip into the cachet, and training camp hasn't even started yet. There's going to be other injuries. There's other guys going to be available and cut from other teams. So Douglas is really using his money sparingly. I think there's a shot Kawan ends up here. I think that he liked playing here. He's liking things all over Twitter, but he's going to go whoever pays him the most. And right now, I don't think he really has a market. I think his market's going to really spike once training camp starts and other teams start getting injuries. And I'm not wishing injuries on anybody, but that's just football.
Right. I mean, so we're going to end up with Mosley, Quincy, and probably Jamie Sherwood. Now, Sherwood, I mean, he's a little bit of a smaller guy, right? If he is better in coverage than Quan, then I'm all for it, because that seemed to be a little bit of an Achilles heel. Covering those tight ends coming out of the back. So,
you just nailed it, because we're building this defense almost like years ago with the Colts. You're going to have pass rusher after pass rusher, the Dwight Freeney, Evan Mathis. Not saying we have those caliber of players, but the fact that we went out, we're getting smaller, lighter, faster, both with McDonald and Sherwood on the defense, is going to show us that we're hoping to play from ahead in a lot of games and then get after the quarterback.
Right, and they said that in a few press conferences. They do expect to be playing with a lead, and when you're on the defensive side of the ball and you have a lead, it changes a lot of things, right? You can really pin your ears back, and you can put some exotic blitz packages together to try and get to the opposing quarterback. Now, I expect us to be able to get pressure with just our front four. We were kind of able to do that last year. I mean, Quinnen had 12 sacks from an interior position, which is just insane. You're gonna have guys on the edge like Huff, which needs to get more snaps. He needs to be on the field more. You expect
Jermaine Johnson to take a step forward this year. I mean,
I would hope so. Nobody talks about JJ, right? He didn't have the year that I think everybody expected him to have, be such an impact player, but he didn't play that much. So yeah,
if we didn't have the other two rookies, there'd be a bigger spotlight on him. But because we had Garrett Wilson and Sauce Gardner, he kind of scapegoated by, which is okay, but it's time to show up. It's year 2, and he actually looks bigger if you look at him in training.
Yeah.
And workouts, he definitely put on some weight.
An edge rotation with McDonald, JJ, Clemens, and Huff that's a pretty good rotation there. So, like I said before, we should be able to get to the quarterback with 4 guys. Going on to the offensive side of the ball, we all kind of collectively held our breath a little bit when CJ Uzama tweaked something, right? Mm-hmm. But then later that night, you see him out with the guys. I don't know what they were doing, but there was something on Instagram where half, half the offense was out doing something, and CJ's right in the middle there, and then you see him at the Tony Awards. Like if he was really, really hurt, I don't think he would put himself in a publicly.
I think he tweeted. He might have tweeted that everything's all good or something like that.
Thank God. I mean, at least he just tweaked something. But I expect Ruckert to have an impact on this offense. I think Conklin is probably going to be on the decline, and our two tight ends are going to end up being CJ and Ruckert. What do you think?
Yeah, well, that's something. When I look at the tight end position, I think they're going to play big this year. I can almost see Ruckert taking more of almost like a fullback role, a halfback role. Maybe they use him out of the backfield. He is an NFL-ready blocker without a doubt.
Oh, yeah.
He is. And we can expect injuries. One thing Uzomah had trouble in Cincinnati was staying on the field. You know what I mean? So having that depth there is priority. And another thing we haven't gotten to, how about there seems to be a lot of speculation around it, but it doesn't seem like it's so much speculation anymore in Breece Hall coming back for week 1.
Right.
Seems like he's really progressing, and that's something I'm really excited about. And I know everybody keeps saying, oh, well, look what Saquon and Breece are two different breeds. You can't compare two guys that have injuries. We've seen guys in the past like Julian Edelman come back from injury, and it's like it never happened, and he was 100% right away. I'm not saying that with Breece, but having that threat back there out of the backfield could absolutely change this team up, at home against Buffalo week 1.
Right. Well, we had the writer for Pitt on talking about Abanikanda. I would not be surprised if he ends up starting. We still have Michael Carter, who is more of an outside the tackles kind of runner. He's not so much of an inside the tackles guy. Right. It goes into the Dalvin Cook conversation. Do they kick the tires on Dalvin Cook, which I think they are. I think Coach Saleh hinted at that. When
they're definitely going to make the call.
Right. When they asked about Hopkins, they kind of blew it off, and then they asked about Cook, a few weeks later, and it's like, well, we're going to turn over every stone or whatever he said. So I think it's worth the phone call to see what Cook would be looking at. He is a player a bit on the decline. He did just have surgery on his shoulder, I believe. But I just don't want to rush Hall back and then miss out on him and getting re-injured later in the season.
Totally agree.
I don't want to put that out in the ether, but he looks fantastic. His cuts look great, and the coaches say they actually have to slow him down. It looks like he's got that trust already in his knee, which here is the biggest thing, especially with ACLs. It's having that trust.
Right, and one name we haven't spoken about, who I did a video on earlier in the week, who I could see us potentially kicking the tires on, is Kareem Hunt. I mean, you look at his number. You look at his numbers last year; they weren't as flashy as the years prior. I believe last year he averaged in the high 3s, which is not good for really any running back. But the year before that, it was 4.9 yards a carry. So he's a running back to look out for. He's not going to cost nearly as much as Dalvin Cook. So that's somebody that I would expect the Jets to probably kick the tires on, potentially, depending on Breece Hall and his development.
Mm-hmm. So one guy that I haven't heard anything about at OTAs is Tippett.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah, I haven't heard either, which could be good.
Right, which could be good. He seems like a hard worker, so maybe just he's got his head down, he's doing what he's got to do, and I wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't start the season, just because he has to gain that trust of Aaron Rodgers.
I would
really. You would be surprised if he didn't. Okay.
I think they're that high on him. I think he tests great. His knowledge of the game is great, and I think that you don't spend a second-round pick on a guy that could only play center and not plan on starting him. And it's not like it was pick 58. You know what I mean? It was pretty early in the second round to have a guy that might not be a starter, especially on a Super Bowl caliber team. So I think they're going to start him right away.
Well, I mean, this just goes to show how much say I think Aaron Rodgers has right now inside that building. It's really going to come down to him if he wants to play with him or not, you know. And then, you know, to kind of wrap up OTAs, we got that giant elephant in the room who's playing left tackle. Is Becton going to play or is he not going to play? Is he going to be on the right? Is he going to be on the left? Is he going to be on the bench? Who the hell knows? He seems to be doing all the right things. He looks like he's in fantastic shape. I haven't heard too much on it other than, you know, the back and forth of, you know, he's got to earn the spot. What if you could predict right now what's going to happen at the tackle spots? What would it be? And then I'll give mine.
I think you might agree with me. I'm not sure, but I think that it's going to end up being Brown at left and Becton at right. Because I just feel like Brown's always been at left tackle. He's more than willing to play injured. And let's be honest, Jeff fans, if we're being honest with ourselves, the chances of Mekhi Becton getting re-injured are exorbitantly high. The guy's played 2 games in the last 2 years. So to sit here and say he's going to be healthy, I hope he is. I really do. If he's healthy, we have a better chance of winning. But to put him at the left tackle position, if he gets hurt, you got to reconfigure that whole offensive line. If he's at right tackle, you have guys with experience and Max Mitchell that's right there ready to back up. God forbid something happens to him. So I think that's more suitable for this team.
I predict that, yes, he'll probably start right tackle. I think I'm on the same page as you, where it's going to be Brown and Becton at the tackle spots. Yes, the possibility of him getting injured is extremely high, but the biggest difference is he's lost a ton of weight, and that is a lot less stress on his knees, right? And that's huge. He's going to have more strain on his right knee playing right tackle. However, you would hope that, you know, him being in better shape and having that weight loss counteracts that. We still have guys like Billy Turner. We still have Max Mitchell, and we still have the kid from Pitt that we drafted. Mm-hmm. So, you know, we have bodies in there that can step in.
Right.
Brown has been, you know, Dwayne Brown is been a workhorse his entire career. So he's a guy that plays hard. He plays hurt. I wouldn't be surprised if he is at left tackle and he sits there the whole season. So, you know, it's going to be interesting to see. You know, we're going to be keeping track of everything going into training camp. We'll be at training camp. At least I know Ray will be. I'll try and get there also. So, if you're new here, guys, please subscribe. It really helps us out. You want to stay up to date on all the latest Jets news, all the everything going on with the players. We have interviews coming up that I think you guys will really be interested in. We have a great Instagram page growing, so please give us a follow there. And finally, if you are interested, we have a promo code for SeatGeek. Use code JetCast at checkout, and you'll get $20 off your first order. Ray, any last words?
I'm looking forward to training camp. I expect Rodgers to look great, and I just can't wait to go see him live because to me it still doesn't feel real.
It still doesn't feel right. It still doesn't feel real, right? No, so right. It's gonna be definitely surreal watching him run out onto the field, and it doesn't feel real. So
that's right.
All right, so thanks for hanging out with us. We'll see you guys in a week, and go Jets.
Go Jets.